Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. Okay, so today we are going to continue with the third subtopic for chapter 5, which is 5.3 solid. Okay, so the learning outcomes that you are going to learn in this subtopic are, first one, we are going to explain the fixed shape of a solid. Alright, and then we are going to explain the process of solid, which are freezing, melting, sublimation, and deposition. And then we are going to differentiate between the amorphous and the crystalline solids. And then we are going to look at the types of crystalline solids and their appropriate examples, which are metallic solid, ionic solid, molecular covalent solid, and giant covalent solids. And last one, we are going to compare the properties of solid with liquid and gas. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, now let's look into the properties of solid. So solid has a fixed shape. Okay, because first thing is because the solid particles are arranged very closely together. So if you see here, the solid are arranged very closely with each other and in a rigid arrangement. So the solid particles can only vibrate and rotate about fixed position. Dia tak boleh nak freely move lah. Okay, macam liquid, even though they closely arranged, tapi they still ada space, a little space between them, and they can actually move and collide with each other. Okay, but solid, it is packed really closely and in a rigid arrangement. So that's why the particles of solid can only vibrate and rotate about a fixed position, and it cannot move freely. Okay, with that being said, that solid is in the rigid arrangement, hence why solid has a definite shape and volume. Okay, so solid also has a very strong attractive forces between the particles and has a very high density, and solid is incompressible. Dia tak boleh nak compress. Okay, because nak compress macam mana kan solid kan? Okay, so dia memang almost cannot compress lah. Okay, so kita kata incompressible. Alright, so now let's look at the overview in the changes in the state of matter. So we have learned gas, liquid, and solid. So solid is the last states of matter that we learn in this chapter. So we see this is the solid, okay, and then liquid, and then gas. Okay, so for solid, okay, we have from solid to liquid, so the process is melting process, and then from liquid back into solid is a freezing process, and then we have the process where solid change into gas directly without changing into liquid, so that process is sublimation, and we have a vice versa where the gas directly change into solid, where it is called a deposition process. Okay, so let's look at the process of solid. So we learn 4 processes of solid, which are melting, freezing, sublimation, and deposition. Okay, so let's look into the melting process, or we can call it fusion process. So what is melting? So it is the process in which a substance changes from solid to liquid phase. Okay, so when a solid substance is heated, so solid particles will gain more energy, okay, more kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy of a solid particles increases, and the solid particles will vibrate more energetically. Okay, lebih bertenaga lah. Maksudnya bila dia gain more energy, dia akan vibrate lebih orang kata rancak. Okay, alright, and at its melting point, so bila ada certain point yang dia kata tu, bila dah sampai melting point, the solid particles ni dikatakan have already enough energy to overcome the attractive forces between the solid particles. Okay, sebab dia dah capai, dia dah achieve, dia dah have enough energy. Okay, so itu kita kata melting point lah. Okay, now solid particles are free to move and the rigid and orderly structure of solid has been disrupted. Okay, dah terganggu lah. Alright, so solid lose its definite shape and changes into liquid. Okay, so that's how the melting process happened. Okay, now we look at second process, which is freezing, or we can call it solidification process. Okay, so what is the definition for freezing? It is the process in which a substance changes from liquid to solid phase. So dia ni berlawan daripada melting tu lah. Kalau melting from solid to liquid, so ini freezing from liquid to solid phase. Okay, so a liquid is changing into a solid when the temperature of a liquid is lowered. So bila temperature kita rendahkan, kita decrease the temperature, the kinetic energy of the liquid particles decreases. So when the kinetic energy of liquid particles makin berkurang, makin lama dia move very slowly. So liquid particles akan lama-lama vibrate at slower rate. Okay, so now a point is reached, okay, when the intermolecular forces are strong enough to hold the particles together in a fixed and orderly arrangement. So bila dah makin lama makin dia kurang bergerak, lama-lama dia vibrate dekat tempat tu kan, dia akan ada intermolecular forces lah between particles. So lama-lama dia akan ada strong intermolecular forces yang boleh menyebabkan dia hold together into a rigid arrangement. Okay, then we can say that the liquid will now freeze, become a solid. Okay, so that's for the freezing process. So let's look at the third process, which is the sublimation process. So what is the sublimation process? It is the process in which a substance changes directly from solid to gaseous phase without passing through the liquid phase. So maksudnya dia terus lompat daripada solid, dia terus change dia punya phase into gas tanpa jadi liquid. Okay, why can solid change directly into gas phase? Okay, it is occurs when molecules on the surface possess enough kinetic energy to overcome the attractive forces and leave the solid phase as a vapor or gas. Maksudnya the surface of the solid tu dia ada tenaga yang cukup lah untuk overcome the intermolecular forces dan terus escape as a gas phase. Okay, so contohnya macam dry ice. Okay, so dry ice dia boleh change the phase dia daripada solid directly to gas phase. Okay, and then last but not least, we have deposition process. So dia adalah lawan kepada sublimation. So kalau tadi sublimation daripada solid kepada gas, now kita punya deposition process daripada gas kepada solid phase. So deposition is the process in which a substance changes directly from the gaseous phase to solid phase without passing through the liquid phase. Okay, the opposite of sublimation. Okay, contohnya macam kalau tempat negara yang sejuk gila kan, okay, time winter contohnya, okay, kadang-kadang dia tak perlukan liquid pun untuk jadi ais tau. Sometimes udara tu, macam udara yang sejuk tu kan, dia menyelubungi, orang kata some object, dia boleh form solid ice. Contohnya macam ini. Okay, ini sebenarnya adalah udara yang sejuk. Okay, tapi disebabkan udara tu terlalu sejuk, okay, dia terus boleh form jadi solid. Okay, so dekat sini a gas is changing into a solid when cooled under certain conditions. So when the gas is cooled under certain condition, so vapor molecule akan lose kinetic energy. So now the vapor molecules will move more slowly and can no longer overcome the attractive forces. So thus the molecules are arranged into fixed positions to become a solid. Okay, so these are the 4 process of solid that you have to understand. Okay, ada 4. Yang pertama adalah melting, yang kedua freezing, yang ketiga sublimation, dan yang keempat deposition. Okay, alright. So now kita nak tengok what are the types of solid. So kita dah belajar pasal properties of solid. We have learned about the process of solid. So now we want to know what are the types of solid. Okay, so there are two types of solid, which are the crystalline solid, and the second one is the amorphous solid. So what is the difference between these two solid? So kita akan tengok difference in terms of arrangement of particles, in terms of physical properties, as well as the formation. Okay, and then we will look at the example for each of the solid. Okay, now let's look at the crystalline solid in terms of arrangement of particles. So dalam crystalline solid, the solid particles are arranged in a regular repeating, or we can say orderly arrangement, and have a well-defined structure. Okay, so crystalline solid ni dia punya arrangement tu orang kata constant lah, okay, and tersusun rapi saja, okay. So dia ada well-defined structure. So how about amorphous solid? So amorphous solid, dia punya arrangement of particle, dia arrange in random. So kita panggil disorderly arrangement, and have no well-defined structure, okay. So amorphous dia tak ada well-defined structure. Okay, so now let's look at the in terms of physical properties. So kalau crystalline solid, dia ada well-defined melting point. Dia ada, maksudnya setiap crystalline solid tu dia ada specific melting point. Okay, however, untuk amorphous solid, dia has no definite melting point, and dia melt over a range of temperature. Okay, dia tak ada specific temperature yang dia akan melt lah. Okay, and then untuk formation of crystalline solid, okay, so macam mana kita nak form crystalline solid? So crystalline solid is formed when a saturated liquid is cooled slowly. So keyword dia kat sini slowly. Okay, tapi kalau amorphous solid, dia form when saturated liquid is cooled rapidly. Okay, so kalau crystalline dia cool slowly, kalau amorphous dia cool rapidly. So what are the examples of crystalline solid and amorphous solid? So crystalline solid contohnya macam salt, sugar, diamond, metal, graphite, itu semua adalah crystalline solid. Okay, so what are amorphous solid? So amorphous solid contohnya macam plastic, glass, rubber, and etc. Okay, so these are the difference between crystalline solid and amorphous solid. Okay, so next kita nak tengok types of crystalline solid. So there are 4 types of crystalline solid that you are going to learn. First one is metallic solid, second one is ionic solid, third one is molecular covalent solid, and last but not least is giant covalent solid. Okay, so now let's look at the first types of crystalline solid, which is metallic solid. So metallic solid ni yang awak dah belajar dalam chapter 4.5 lah. Okay, dia is the metallic solid is formed from the metallic bond. Okay, so metallic solid ni dia closely packed structure. Okay, macam ni lah. Okay, dia ada metal cation and is surrounded by the valence of C of the localized electron. Okay, so dalam metallic solid, it is composed of atoms of the same metal linked together by metallic bond. Okay, ni yang saya cakap tadi lah. Okay, so nama pun metallic solid, so dia punya bond adalah metallic bond. Okay, so example of the metallic solids are all metallic element. Okay, daripada group 1, 2 and 13. Okay, sodium, magnesium, aluminium contohnya. Okay, so itu untuk metallic solid. Okay, now we look into the second types of crystalline solid, which is ionic solid. So dia lebih kurang sama macam metallic solid tadi. So kalau metallic solid dia form from metallic bond. So kalau ionic solid dia form from ionic bond. Okay, so ionic bond they consist of ions lah. Okay, positive and negative ions that are held together by ionic bond. So contohnya macam sodium chloride, potassium bromide. Okay, so dia susun macam ni lah. Okay, yang besar ni adalah anion, chlorine anion. Dan yang kecil-kecil ni adalah sodium ion. So dia susun quite very closely packed together. Okay, and dia selang-selang lah sebab apa? They consist of different ion kan, positive dan juga negative ion. Okay, so this is for ionic solid. Now let's look into the third types of crystalline solid, which is molecular covalent solid. So what is molecular covalent solid? It is a solid that composed of molecules held together by intermolecular forces such as van der Waals forces and hydrogen bond. Okay, contoh kat sini kita ada water, iodine, carbon dioxide, sulfur. Okay, semua ni adalah molecular covalent solid. Alright, and last type of crystalline solid is giant covalent solid. So giant covalent solid ni adalah large molecules that composed of atoms linked together by covalent bond. Okay, maksudnya yang dia punya susunan tu besar lah. Okay, the arrangement tu banyak. Okay, contohnya macam graphite dan juga diamond. Okay, ini contoh giant covalent solid. So ingat ada 4 types of crystalline solid. Yang pertama adalah metallic solid from metallic bond. Okay, yang kedua adalah ionic solid from ionic bond. And then we have molecular covalent solid. Okay, from the van der Waals forces as well as hydrogen bonding. And last but not least is the giant covalent solid. Okay. Now, okay, we are going into the last part of this subtopic, which is we are going to compare the solid, liquid as well as gas. So kita tengok ini arrangement of solid, liquid and gas. Okay, so kita boleh cakap pasal arrangement of the particles. Okay, dia punya molecular motion dia punya intermolecular forces and so on. Okay, now let's see the difference between all these 3 states of matter in terms of shape and volume. Okay, so solid dia ada definite or fixed shape and volume. Okay, so liquid dia has no definite or fixed shape but has definite or fixed volume. So dia flows to fit the shape of its container. Okay, however for gas, they have no fixed shape and volume, so flows to fit the shape and volume of its container. Okay, alright, now in terms of arrangement of particles, so untuk solid, the particles are close together and in rigid and orderly arrangement. Okay, however, untuk liquid, particles are close together but are not rigidly arranged. Okay, and last but not least is the gas particles, which are very far apart from one another with a random arrangement. Okay, so in terms of molecular motion, motion of the molecule, okay, so solid sebabkan dia in a very rigid and orderly arrangement, so solid can only vibrate about fixed position. Okay, compared to liquid, so there is still some space between them. Okay, so they can move freely juga. Okay, so kita kata dia punya motion slow lah. Compared to gas, dia ada rapid and random motion. Okay, in terms of intermolecular forces pula, okay, untuk solid dia ada very strong intermolecular forces. Untuk liquid dia ada strong intermolecular forces but not as strong as solid. Okay, and last but not least is gas, where it has a weak intermolecular forces, or we can say negligible. Okay, ini untuk solid, liquid and gas. So last one kita tengok, okay, difference in between diffusion. So solid dia tak boleh diffuse lah. Okay, liquid boleh diffuse but at a very slower rate compared to gas. So gas dia boleh diffuse very fast and rapidly. Okay, untuk surface tension, so solid tak ada surface tension. So liquid dia ada significant lah, kita boleh nampak dia punya surface tension. And gas dia tak ada surface tension. Okay, in terms of viscosity, solid dia has no viscosity lah, none. Okay, liquid dia ada significant viscosity lah, range from low to high viscosity. And gas dia ada high viscosity. Okay, last but not least, we have compressibility punya factors. Okay, so untuk solid, dia incompressible, tak boleh nak compress. Untuk liquid, dia ada low compressibility. Okay, sebab apa? Dia closely arranged, but still ada a very little empty space between them. So, kita boleh compress sikit. Okay, last but not least is gas. So gas dia memang ada high compressibility. Okay, so we have finished for the explanation untuk chapter 5.3 solid. So tak banyak lah actually untuk 5.3 ni. Okay, so now kita nak jawab soalan tutorial. So soalan tutorial ni sangat-sangat senang. Okay, so kita tengok first question. This way kita describe the properties of solid. So ini you boleh dapat directly from the notes. Okay, so first you know that solid punya particles are arranged close together. Okay, so particles can only vibrate and rotate about fixed position. It has rigid arrangement, cannot move freely, has definite shape and volume, has strong forces between particles, has high density and incompressible. Okay, so these are the properties of solid. Okay, next we are going to look into question number 8. Okay, so question number 8 asks us to explain the following process in terms of phase change and molecular motion. Okay, here, kita kat sini. Okay, dia suruh kita explain kan. So freezing, melting, sublimation and deposition. So kita explain untuk freezing dulu. So freezing is the process, dia punya phase change dia changed from liquid to solid phase. Okay, so kita dah explain in terms of phase change. Now kita nak explain in terms of molecular motion. So when temperature of liquid is lowered, the kinetic energy of the liquid particles decreases. So bila kinetic energy makin lama makin kurang, liquid particles will vibrate at slower rate, and then the point is reached when the intermolecular forces are strong enough to help the particles together in a fixed and orderly arrangement. So the liquid freeze to become solid. Okay, sama juga untuk melting, you explain dia punya phase change. Okay, so melting phase change from solid to liquid, and then you explain the process of melting. So when solid particles gain energy, okay, the kinetic energy of solid particles increase. So bila kinetic energy increase, okay, dia akan vibrate more energetically. Okay, so bila dia dah capai melting point, okay, maksudnya solid particles tu dia dah have enough energy untuk overcome the attractive forces. Okay, now solid particles are free to move, the rigid and orderly structure of solid disrupted, and solid lose its definite shape and changes into liquid. So ini untuk melting. Okay, next untuk sublimation dan juga deposition pun sama je. So you have to include the phase change. So sublimation change from solid to gas without passing through the liquid phase. Okay, and then deposition is the process in which a substance changes directly from gases to solid phase without passing through the liquid phase. So the opposite of sublimation. Alright, so now we are looking into question number 9. So this suruh kita define melting point dengan juga normal melting point. So basically soalan ni kita tak belajar dalam kita punya syllabus. Okay, kita belajar yang boiling point. But actually dia punya definition lebih kurang sama je. Okay, cumanya kita tukar dia punya phase change lah. Okay, so untuk melting point is the temperature at which a solid substance turns into liquid. So at this point, solid and liquid phase are in equilibrium. Okay, so kalau normal melting point yang ada 1 atm lah. Dia punya ayat sama, cuma kena tambah yang dia punya pressure tu 1 atm. Okay, so ini untuk melting point dengan normal melting point. Alright. Now, look at question number 10. Okay, dia kata differentiate between the amorphous and crystalline solid. So, I just copy and paste directly from the notes because it's actually the answer untuk soalan ni. Okay, you can read again lah difference between crystalline solid dan juga amorphous solid in terms of this. For, apa orang kata, 4 things. Okay, 4 factors. Okay. Next, we are going to look into question 11. So question 11 asks us to give an example. So enough with only one example lah. Give an example for each of the following crystalline solid. So kita ada metallic. Okay, and then kita ada ionic, and then kita ada molecular covalent, and last but not least we have giant covalent. Okay, so contoh metallic. Okay, contoh metallic example for crystalline solid adalah elemen in group, elemen metallic element, contohnya from group 1, group 2 and group 13. So you can answer Na or Mg or Al for example, etc lah. Okay, but these three are the main one lah. Okay, salah satu saja. Okay, and then untuk ionic dia adalah yang salt lah. Okay, awak boleh letak NaCl ataupun KBr. Okay, ataupun banyak lagi lah salt yang ada. Okay, and then kita ada molecular covalent. So molecular covalent ada banyak lah sebenarnya. Okay, you boleh letak water, CO2, S8 dan sebagainya. And last but not least is giant covalent. Okay, cuma ada dua yang kita belajar, iaitu diamond ataupun graphite. Okay, so itu untuk question 11. So last question, we have question number 12, where dia kata give a brief comparison between solid and liquid according to the properties given in table by filling in the blank. Okay, so solid in terms of shape dia ada fixed shape. Okay, dia ada fixed shape. Okay, however liquid dia punya shape dia tak fix. Okay, shape dia follow shape of container. Okay, next, in terms of surface tension, okay, untuk solid dia tak ada lah, kita kata dia almost none ataupun awak boleh kata none. Okay, and then untuk liquid dia ada significant. Okay, untuk solid viscosity tak ada, none. Okay, liquid viscosity dia significant lah. Okay, dia range daripada low viscosity kepada high viscosity. And then untuk compressibility, solid dia incompressible. Okay, but liquid dia ada low, dia slightly compressible lah. Okay, sebab dia ada still very little empty space between the liquid particles. So kita boleh compress dia sikit walaupun tak banyak. Okay, so we have come into the end of this lecture for chapter 5.3 solid. So I hope that you have learned a lot in this subtopic. So remember that in this subtopic you have to know the physical properties of solid, the process of solid, the types of solid, the types of crystalline solids, and the comparison between the solid, gas and liquids. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum. Bye.